So basically the problem statement we are dealing with is concerned with shell scripting. So what is shell first? It is a command line interpreter that provides UI or Unix Linux OS, and it allows user to interact with the system by using those commands. So in a shell script we are here to write a program using which we can interact with the system. The program is create a file management program using bash shell. It also uses functions to perform required tasks. It should be menu driven, allowing you options of test if file exists, read a file, delete a delete a file, display a list of file. Example book and text test.txt files are available in present working directory. So the file name equals to book.txt and the content is displayed. So let us enter into our shell script. Okay, so we have book.txt in it, and I'm going to add test.txt in it, and let's write some random content in this. Okay, this is the content of test.txt. Now in order to create a shell file we have to use the command of touch is used to create an empty file. So touch, then our file name. Now this is file management program, so I'm naming it as file underscore m manager dot sh. Sh is for shell script. Now to open it I'll use nano and then the file name. So this opens up the interface where we can type our program. So the starting line consists of hash exclamation slash bin slash bash. So this tells the interpreter to refer the bin of bash, that is to treat it like a shell script. Okay, so the program we have to implement consists of 4 portions. That is, we have to test if a file exists, we need to read a file, we need to delete a file, and we have to display the list of files. So first thing, we'll create a menu. Now hash and then any word after hash defines is used to define a comment. So in order to create a menu, echo is used to print, and when I'm giving echo e means it can read special characters. So echo e, and now I have 4 options, so I'll give all 4 options. The very first one is test if file exists. Then we are checking if we are reading the file, read a file. Then the next option states that we'll delete a file. Then we'll display a file. Display a file. Okay, so this statement will print. Now in order to read the output, whatever user is giving as an input, say 1, 2, 3 or 4, in order to read that I need a variable. I need to store that input into a variable. So for that I'll use read choice. Now choice is that variable in which the input given by user is stored. Now for creating a menu I'll have to use case and then choice. So for this choice in, now in I have to provide the options. If it is 1, then what will happen? If it is 2, then what will happen? So for now, first we'll do a display function and we'll name it as display. For all the other inputs, we'll echo invalid input. Invalid input. Okay. So what does this display do? what does our display function do? So here we have it written that it displays a list of file. So what is the list of file it is going to display? So for defining a function, we'll name the function, use round brackets, and then these curly braces. So echo, that is to print where list of files is in current working directory or present working directory, and here we are doing ls in order to read. So ls1 in order to display them in one below the other, or simply we can do even ls. So let's try both one after the other. Now in order to write this, I'll click Ctrl and press O and then enter, and then Ctrl X for exit. Now this is nano file manager.sh to open the file, and to run it, because I am in Windows, I'll use bash file manager.sh. Otherwise you can use /file manager.sh. So if I enter 4, expected end of line. Wait. Let's debug it. Where is the issue in this? Display function is fine, and then menu echo. Okay, here we didn't add ESAC, we have to reverse and write. Then fine, bash file manager 4. Okay, so here we can see the list of files, that is book.txt is present in this directory, then file manager.sh is present, and test.txt is present. Let us try ls1 and then bash. So it prints one below the other. Now we'll implement other functions, that is test if a file exists. Let's start from this. So display function is done, then test if a file exists. Test if a file exists. In order to test if a file exists, I'll write the function, name it as is existing. Okay. So for this function, what I'll do is echo enter the name of file. So here we are basically entering the name of the file, which will be testing if it exists or not. Then we'll read the input. So here we are reading file name, that is we are taking input and storing it in a variable named as file. So now I have to check if it exists. So I'll use if block, then I'll give space, then this conditional statement, if f file name. So here I have to use the variable, and because file name can have spaces, say it can be like hello world.txt, so it can have spaces, so therefore we'll put it in quotes. F is this is the syntax of the if block. So if the condition satisfies, that is if the file exists, we'll say file found, otherwise we'll output as echo file not found, and to end if, we'll have to use fi. Okay, so let's write out, and to test it quickly, we'll have to add the menu option. Wait, we didn't add the menu option. So this is existing is the first choice, right? So I'll add here first is existing. So now enter the name of file, book.txt, file found. And if it is not found, say means if it is not there, say I type any random name, it will return file not found. So here what is happening is we are checking if the file is existing or not, and for that we are using this if block. In that we are checking if file with this particular name exists, and then block is used to do when the condition of if block is true, then do this, else is if the condition is not true. Then the next thing we'll implement is read a file. So we'll read the content of a file. Read a file. So for this I'll create a function named read. So in read, the very first thing is echo. We'll take file name as input. Enter name of the file that I want to read. Then I'll read. Let us name this as read a file. Read file. Okay, so then I'll read the file name. You can use any variable here. In order to read a file, the very first thing is the file should exist. So we'll check again if file and then the file name. For using any variable, we'll use $symbol. If the file with that file name exists, then only we'll read it. Otherwise, we'll say the file is not found. So here I don't need to echo that the file is found. I just need to read it. So I'll use cat and then file name. It displays the content of the file. So here in quotes and then file name. Else I am stating that file not found. Echo file doesn't exist. And then end this with fi and close the curly braces. Now this is read file function, so I'll have to add it to the menu also. In menu, option 2 is for read file. Read file, and then we'll save this, Ctrl O, enter, Ctrl X. So second option, enter the name of file, say book.txt. So the entire content, that is our problem statement, was there in book.txt. It got printed. If we do the same for say test.txt, then the content of text.txt will get printed. Now say I enter a file name that does not exist. So file doesn't exist. Now let's go back to our script. Here we are left to implement the last function, which is deleting a file. So here we'll implement the function of deleting a file. We'll name the function as delete. Now in order to delete a file, I must know the name of the file. So I'll check echo enter the name of file, and then I'll read it as file name. Once I get the file name, I'll check if that file exists first. There should be a space between if and these brackets. If the file with that particular file name exists, then I'll delete it. So in order to delete, what we have to do is we have to use the function rm and then the name of the file, rm file name, and then I can just print a statement of file deleted successfully. I can have an else statement where I'm saying that the file does not exist. File doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, it's already deleted. And then I have to close if This delete will be the third option in our menu. So let us add it here. 3 is delete. So write out, enter, and Control X. Let us try deleting book.txt. File deleted successfully, it got removed from here. So this is how we can implement this file management program script, that is a shell script, and all the 4 functionality, that is testing if a file exists, reading a file, deleting a file, and displaying the list of files, is covered in this. And this is a menu driven program. You can even add a while loop in the menu so that it continues until and unless the person press the number for exit. That is another modification that can be done in this. Thank you.